to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down an absolutely breathtaking match from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We're talking about that wild round of 16 clash in Atlanta between the defending champions Argentina and Egypt, the seven-time champions of Africa. We're going to focus specifically on how Argentina stared down a massive potential tournament-ending upset and how Lionel Messi used his unparalleled dual-threat capability as both a playmaker and a scorer to orchestrate an absolute masterclass of a rescue mission.
So let's just dive right into the moment of maximum jeopardy. If you were watching this live, you definitely remember the sheer disbelief. I mean, Argentina, the reigning champs on a quest for back-to-back World Cups, suddenly find themselves staring down a shocking 2-0 deficit against the Pharaohs. And look, this wasn't some fluke. Egypt came out absolutely flying. They were clearly aiming to send a seismic shock right around the globe.
The broadcast really captured the mood perfectly. Quote, "Alarm bells ringing for Argentina, 2-0. Absolute panic was setting in, and for good reason. Egypt broke the deadlock early on when Argentina was caught completely napping at the far post. That allowed Yasser Ibrahim to react decisively and just bury a fantastic header. Actually, that was only his second ever international goal. And if that wasn't bad enough for Argentina, later on, a gorgeous passing sequence right in the middle of the box found Zico. He made absolutely no mistake with a clinical strike. 2-0. The clock's ticking, and the defending champions are literally on the ropes.
But before any kind of comeback could even start to take shape, we have to talk about the early frustrations. Argentina obviously needed a route back immediately, so naturally they looked to their captain. Messi had this massive moment where he just picked his spot, didn't even look at the goalkeeper, and fired. But he was totally denied by the Egyptian keeper, Mustafa Shabir. Shabir was basically having the game of his life early on, which just massively compounded the immense stakes and the pressure resting on Argentina's shoulders.
Looking at how the match unfolded, the momentum swings were wild, but it was heavily in Egypt's favor for the vast majority of the game. You've got that early first-half header from Ibrahim, and then the devastating second-half strike from Zico. Honestly, it wasn't until the late second half that this massive mountain Argentina had to climb finally started to look even remotely conquerable, and getting there, well, it required a serious tactical shift from their legendary number 10.
Section 1. The master playmaker emerges, orchestrating the comeback.
With his team really struggling to contain Egypt's energy, Messi realized he couldn't just sit up top and wait for the ball in the box. He had to drop down and systematically dismantle this defense himself. You can kind of think of it as Messi's playmaking algorithm. First, he drops deep to read the play, picking up the ball from guys like DePaul. Second, he uses his classic twinkle-toed maneuvers to draw the defenders out. At times, you literally had up to 3 Egyptian players collapsing on him just trying to close him down. And then step 3. Once that stubborn defense finally opened up, he delivered the pinpoint pass.
And that algorithm perfectly highlights Messi's dual threat on the pitch. On one hand, you have the ultimate playmaker, threading the needle through a totally massed defense and creating these point-blank chances for his teammates. On the other hand, he's the finisher. He's always ready to unexpectedly fire a rising strike right into the back of the net. He basically forces the opposition into a constant guessing game. Like, is he going to shoot, or is he going to serve it up on a silver platter for someone else?
Let's break down some of the specific tools he pulled from this playmaking arsenal during the game. First, he whipped this superb free kick that curled right around the wall and went agonizingly close. As we mentioned, he was constantly drawing out those 3 defenders to manufacture space out of nowhere. He also orchestrated these sensational moves with Alexis McAllister and Alvarez, which ended up forcing absolute world-class point-blank saves from Shabir. Plus, he kept reading the overlapping runs perfectly, sending these beautifully timed balls to Molina on the near side. He was just knocking on the door over and over and over again.
And all that knocking finally paid off. The crucial turning point arrives when that relentless playmaking breaks the dam. It was really the first time in the second half where Argentina managed to get a truly dangerous ball into the box. It was a pinpoint cross from Messi, naturally, and it finds Christian Romero. Romero generates fantastic power on his header to finally beat Shabir, and just like that, it's 2-1. The deficit is cut in half, and you can feel it. Argentina is right back in this game.
Section 2. Messi, the scorer strikes, stepping up under relentless pressure.
So having just provided the team's lifeline as a playmaker, Messi then decides to step up and take on the scoring burden himself. You can literally hear the sheer awe in the broadcaster's voice when that relentless pressure finally pays off. They said, "Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Lionel Messi saves the day for Argentina." Right before this, there was a beautiful maneuver down the far side that almost saw Martinez level things up. The pressure was just building and building. Finally, a cross gets swept into the box, and who else is there to answer the call?
Messi. He sweeps in this incredibly thrilling 2-2 equalizer.
If we break down the mechanics of that equalizer, you see it definitely didn't just come out of nowhere. It was the direct result of intense, sustained pressure. Now sure, the delivery into the box did catch a fortunate deflection that kept the ball alive, but ultimately, it was Messi's unmatched technique and the sheer power on his finish that made the difference. Shabir, who, let's be honest, had been an absolute wall all game, just couldn't keep this one out, and with that, Egypt's 2-goal lead had totally evaporated.
Section 3. An epic added-time winner. The final blow in Atlanta.
But hold on, because this game was not done yet. Just when it felt like everyone on the pitch might need a second to catch their breath, we head into added time. The pace actually seemed to slow right down in those dying moments. But then, out of nowhere, this absolutely unbelievable delivery into the box finds Enzo Fernandez. He elevates and strikes what the commentators called the header of his career. Shabir could literally only stand there and watch it go in. 3-2. The miracle comeback is completed right there in added time.
The scenes on the touchline right after really painted a vivid picture of the emotional aftermath. On one side, you have just absolute heartbreak for an Egyptian team that looked totally shattered. I mean, they came so close to pulling off a truly historic upset. Tensions even boiled over, which resulted in a red card for a member of the Egyptian team staff down on the touchline. But then, on the flip side, we saw a rare hint of raw emotion from Argentina's manager, Lionel Scaloni. You could just feel the immense relief washing over that squad as their dream of going back-to-back and retaining the World Cup trophies stayed alive.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. We essentially just watched a masterclass in on-pitch problem solving. From staring down a catastrophic 2-0 deficit to utilizing world-class playmaking to pry open a notoriously stubborn defense and then personally delivering the crucial equalizing strike under immense pressure. Considering the massive stakes, the deficit, and the flawless execution of Messi's dual-threat abilities, is this the greatest rescue mission in World Cup history? Let that sink in for a second. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.